Rearranging the audience.
So you are looking.
We'll all sit when the music stops.
And there are a few chairs over here. And I am the one who is not allowed to sit when the music stops. Good evening. You are looking at a very funny looking Australian. Yes, nothing to hide about the fact that I come from India. But unlike most of my friends and colleagues here in America, I have spent 30 solid years, 30, in a wonderful land called Australia. My wife, she has an Indian background. We got married in May '86 and then we went to Australia. And the kids are born and brought up there. So they can confuse you even more than me. Because they look like me, but when they open their mouth, it is something like, "Good I might." So it's a funny family situation. I am a professor of information technology at University of South Florida, but in the wonderful Sarasota campus. I'm supposed to officially say Sarasota Manatee. My wife Asha and my daughter, who is a medical doctor trying to specialize in emergency medicine, and my son, who nobody knows what he's trying to specialize in. They are all in Sydney right now, and I'm here for the last 4 years, so we do up and down over the Pacific when we feel like it, which is twice a year at least. And I'm happily married. And then we had a discussion just before coming here, is it because we are so far away? But that's a different topic for which you will have to invite me. I came here about, I think it was the January meeting, and my dear friends Balwant and Lata Karlekar, they are my key to coming here. And I enjoyed my last visit here, and in this approximately 45 minutes to 1 hour, I am going to try and share with you something that is changing the way we live, the way we eat, the way we exercise, perhaps even the way we die. And the word is very simple: big data. And all of us understand the word data. So what's so difficult and so challenging about big data? Let me start with a fine joke, if you can get it. The amount of drama unfolding in Brexit is just so wonderful. And whether it is, our phones carry anywhere between 60 to 120 Great Britons. Forgive me if you have a British background. I have some close friends who do have British backgrounds, and they like the joke. What is common between Australia, Britain, and India that is not there in America? Now that's a third topic for which you will have to invite me. It's called a game called cricket, which goes on for 5 full days and ends in a draw. It's a challenge to explain that in America, anywhere. So, by the way, I've written some wonderful books, and I have displayed them here very proudly. But in my family, I'm the only one who is proud of these books. Because my family wishes I had written something as interesting as Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings. But instead of that, I've got software engineering with UML. Nobody buys this book. Some couple of you kind people came here and asked me, can we buy the book? And I said, no. The only reason why you should buy my books is if you have slight problem of insomnia. And it is so funny that you can open any book, any page at any time of the night, and you don't need more than one page. So, I hope everybody can see this. It's a very interesting picture. And my question to you is, that is IBM carrying data. And our question is, what is big data? Do you think that's big? There are 4 or 5 burly men pushing this thing. And it is, let me see if I have got the answer for you, it's massive 5 megabyte.
Wow.
And I started with GB, Great Britain. I don't know what MB stands for, but this is 5 MB. Is this big? The next generation has no idea that there used to be something called a floppy drive. So I have preserved a few of them, 25 of them in a stack to install the new version of Windows. Because one day, those of us who have the vision to save floppy disks will be able to sell it in the antique market for much more than whatever is the price of data then.
I have 2 core drives.
Oh my God. Let's talk. So my definition, and I don't want to call it a rigorous definition because, academics have got this bad habit of on what basis have you defined it. So it's not an academic definition yet. Something that we find challenging to process, and I'm using the word process, with the given tools and technologies, is big data. And there is no end to it in terms of the growth, and I'm going to share some of those statistics with you. But the tools and technologies are continuously trying to catch up to do one very important thing, and that is to make sense of that data. If I have got terabytes, petabytes, all kind of bytes, it still does not become big data unless I have the challenge of making sense out of it. One trans-Pacific or transatlantic flight generates 1 petabyte. And you and I don't need to know what is this petabyte, except that it is 1,000 terabyte definition. It still does not become big data for me because it's just going to lie as data. But the moment I say, what is this data going to tell me? I'm a businessman, I'm an engineer, I'm a technician, I'm whatever I am. I want to make use of that data, and I am not able to do it because it is so massive that I don't have the tools and technologies to process it. That's big data. And IBM, good old IBM, has gone ahead and initially defined big data with 3 V's: volume, velocity, and variety. And then things got added to it. and veracity got added, and there are, someone has gone into the dictionary and selected all the words that start with a V. Voldemort. So, the way I have defined it, volume, velocity, variety, and veracity. But the key question that I was putting forward, that I have been putting forward to define big data is when I want to make sense out of it. I could be an airline, I could be a hospital, I could be an insurance company, insurance provider, and I'm trying to make sense out of this data so I can take better decisions. V for value. And that's the direction in which I am leading or taking my research and my contribution to the community. So let's have a quick look at some of these, again, funny things. So somewhere down there, we have got a terabyte. It's a very small circle. And then just for fun, 1,000 terabytes becomes a petabyte. 1,000 petabyte becomes a exabyte. 1,000 exabyte becomes a zettabyte. 1,000 zettabyte becomes a yottabyte. And 1,000 yottabyte becomes a brontobyte. This is what academics do. I'm thinking of creating 1,000 brontobyte becomes a bhuvanbyte. And look at the challenge of volume. There are approximately 7 billion of us on Earth, Mother Earth. And each one of us is producing and consuming data. There are so many laws created around how much of data gets generated, and nobody really knows. And Google is still, it's big, but not as big as to cover every aspect of my life. It covers 90% now. Phenomenal amount of data. So V for volume, and there is again a lot of statistics. For example, with all this data, we can create correlations, which is what neural networks are doing, the contemporary deep learning is doing, machine learning. You have heard of machine learning and artificial intelligence. And we get asked this question, are machines going to take over humans with the help of artificial intelligence? It is artificial. The word is very clear. It does not have a soul. Although I can create a complete 3-dimensional holographic image of myself right here, it may look like me, it may speak like me, because it has been coded with artificial intelligence. It is still not me. That's the 4th topic for which you should invite me. So I just keep saying that, but please don't be horrified. This is the only time I'm here. Rest, I'll come as an audience. So we will talk about that. We also have this wonderful term that also sounds like Harry Potter, but it's interesting. Nowadays, I don't say 1, 2, 3 in order to take a picture. I just click it 3 times. What's the harm? Why should I say, everybody smile, 1, 2, 3. The cameras are all set. You can set it to click only when I smile. That can be tough. So if I am taking photographs and videos and you are doing the same, and we are not making sense out of it, if I have to search the photograph I took when I visited here last, it will be a few minutes exercise, at least a couple of minutes. So I say, forget it, I'll take new photographs. That's generating dark data. Because it's data that is there, we are never going to make use of it. And that's for you and me as an individual. Imagine organizations doing that. Uncle Google knows exactly where Bhuvan Unhelkar was today. Start from Sarasota, went to USF Tampa, came to SuncityCentre, going back. Tomorrow is going to ask me, how was your visit to SuncityCentre? First I used to be horrified. Now I know I am the one who is creating these kind of algorithms. Data data and more data. Is that the only challenge? Not only are we having large volumes, the speed with which we are generating, adding is phenomenal. And again, we have all heard of 5G. We are right now, most of us are on 4G. And the difference between 5G and 4G cellular networks on which our cell phones are working is 5G cellular bandwidth 10 gigabytes per second. And what's the current speed? 100 Mbps max. And 1 GB is whatever. Let's not do the translation, it's scary. But the key takeaway for us with 5G is that it's going to generate phenomenal amount of data which will be recorded and stored in unknown places called the cloud. Once upon a time, only God used to live in the clouds. Now my data also lives in the cloud. I am religious. And look at the other keyword, IoT, Internet of Things. Your car and my car, if it is purchased in the last 3 to 5 years, has artificial intelligence to recognize lanes and recognize the distance and speed between the car in front of me and my car. So when I do sit in another car which does not have that, I have to tell myself, Bhuvan, this car will not stop. Because I can drive without touching the brakes or the accelerator for quite a bit on I-75 if I am in my car. So that's a IoT on wheels. But look at we have a Fitbit. That's a IoT. That calculates my heartbeat. That calculates the speed with which I'm running, walking. I did a half marathon. I did a few half marathons. And my only goal in the half marathon was not to be picked up by the sweeper truck that comes at 4-hour mark. And I succeeded. Now, when we say data, the starting point is a bit. And a bit is nothing but a 0 or 1. That is the fundamental of all computing. But when we move towards big data, we find that those bits and then bytes and then giga, peta, whatever it is, they don't sit in rows and columns. And sometimes I feel the whole world is nothing but Excel, because everything I want I can put in Excel. But now I'm dealing with data that does not sit comfortably in rows and columns. Variety. I have a data that is relational, structured, and I have a data that is we use TripAdvisor, right? We've gone on TripAdvisor or Expedia or wherever, or any Walmart shopping, and you receive a message saying, how was your experience? And if you have to click or select the radial buttons, you're generating structured data. But you can always go there and say, that was really bad. But then if there is someone, kind like Russ over there, instead of that was really bad, he will say, it was okay. He's a kind man. But how do you figure out, how does the business figure out that Bhuvan saying it was bad and Russ saying okay is the same thing? So now we are dealing with unstructured data. And at least technically it is possible to analyze a video and find out how many times the president of a country smiled or didn't smile. Now that's analyzing audio and video. And voice recognition is already there. We can also have a conversation through IVR, whatever technology. that is providing sufficient challenges for IT professionals to come up with new databases, completely new architecture. And one of them, so this category of databases is called NoSQL databases, not only structured query language databases, which can absorb data that does not sit in rows and columns and help us analyze them. And there are commercial versions like MongoDB, which is a short form for humongous database. You know, we just have fun, IT professionals. I wish I belonged to that. In Rotary we have this challenge of 3-lettered acronyms: DGE, District Governor Elect, and all that. And then there is a group called RAA, Rotarians Against Acronyms. And then the fourth V is veracity. How good is the quality of your data? Business, I said, is interested in value. In order to extract value, it needs to analyze the data. Analysis of bad data is going to produce bad results. As simple as that. And because there is 90% of data, sometimes the estimate is, that's dark. If we include that in the analytics, we're going to get bad results. And why do we include it? Because we don't know which one is bad, which one is dark. That's a fascinating challenge, and that's where artificial intelligence and machine learning has a big role to play. So I wrote one article for Cutter. Cutter is old American programmer, comes out of Boston, keeps competing with Gartner, and I do a fair bit of writing for them. And this was my extracting the fifth V, or value, out of big data. So we have all heard of analytics. Analytics themselves are not new, but big data has provided large amount of data to enable certain analytics that was not possible earlier on. The weatherman, the weather person, my PhD supervisor insisted, no man or woman, the weather person has to predict whether it's going to rain tomorrow or not. How far back can he or she go? And then there are other interesting analytics, and here is a whole list of them with 3 specific large-scale categories: descriptive, historical patterns like weather prediction; predictive, which is more than just weather prediction. It is a whole time series created of what's going to happen, likely to happen tomorrow, day after. So hotel chains like Ritz-Carlton and Westin and so on, we have quite a few in Sarasota. If they get their predictions up to even 70% right, they will be saving a lot of money, because they sometimes don't even get that right. What's the hotel occupancy is a big question that big data can try and answer. I have a few more examples of that. And then have you come across this survey which says, oh, thank you for visiting Ikea. How likely are you to recommend Ikea to your family and friends? That's a very important question. That is a part of NPV, Net Promoter Value. If any one of us rates any business below 8, the originator, the creator of NPV statistics says that we are not going to help that business ever. So when I go to my Subaru dealer for my 6 monthly servicing, he just elbows me and says, hey, Bhuvan, not below 8. And so I say, hey, how about 10% off? I'm born and brought up in a bargaining community. I can bargain. So, so this I'll go through a little bit quickly, but the concept here is Amazon's long tail marketing. Now, all of us know about the bell curve, 80% in the middle. So all of us are going to go and buy, a shirt or a pen or a shoe or a handbag or whatever. 80% the business understands. But then there is Bhuvan Unhelkar, who is interested in some archaic meditative technique. He wants to levitate. That's my dream. Just 1 inch will do. I'm trying. So he searches on Amazon and finds this book by some wonderful person who nobody knows. He's a Zen master sitting in Japan somewhere. He buys the book. And in normal circumstances, nobody else will buy the book because nobody else will know about it. But then he's got a dear friend, Dr. Anurag Agarwal, and Anurag and Bhuvan are very good friends, and they talk about meditation and yoga and all that. And they have the same postcode. And guess what? 3 days later, Anurag receives a suggestion from Amazon. Would you like to buy that book by the Zen master? And he says, how did Amazon come to know about it? That's called long tail marketing. So it goes outside the bell curve. Why? Because it can. And why it can? Because of big data and associated technologies. So the correlation between two people who have in the past purchased something that nobody else purchases, and now one of them buys a book on certain type of meditation, it is suggested to the other person. That's long tail marketing. Very fascinating subject. And those are all the technologies. Now, here is another use case scenario. Bhuvan's wife says, hey Bhuvan, we are moving into a new place. You go and buy a garbage bin. And this is not gender specific, but all the men will nod their head. Buying garbage bin on your own is a big deal. It's mental analytics, Men and women have different ways in which they live their lives. And because they are so different, we fail to understand each other. When buying a garbage bin is a big deal if I am let alone in Walmart. So I'm walking, I'm registered with Walmart. Walmart knows me. I'm walking and I'm looking, this garbage bin or that one or that one. Within a minute of Bhuvan walking through aisle 12, which is garbage bins, he receives a coupon. Hey, what? Buy one, get another for half price. Absolutely. I mean, she will be delighted because I saved so much of money. So that's called fine granular analytics. How fine you can go. The predicting of whether tomorrow is coarse granular analytics, historical patterns. But being able to provide a decision-making activity, send a coupon to Bhuvan now, not 3 minutes later, is a fine granular analytics. And that costs money to the business. So it's a balancing act. Should they be doing finer granular analytics? So that's another part of big data analytics. And there are lots of very interesting things that are happening. And again, I was the editor for this particular issue of IoT data management and analytics. If any one of you is interested in a bit more on that. Now I think, again, it was Russ who was asking me, I should define business agility. Because this particular work of mine is actually less technical and more management. And in fact, Dr. Jim Curran, my past dean in Sarasota, wrote the foreword to this book. It says, Big Data Strategies for Agile Business. And what do we mean by agile business? So this particular slide is in response to your email. We want to improve accuracy, like predicting hotel occupancy. We want to reduce time taken to analyze, like sending a coupon within a minute or two of a customer walking through the aisles. And we want to increase the number of points where decisions are taken or made. How many times I walk up to a bank or a hotel and the reception says, "Hang on, sir, I just need to check with my manager." That's less agile than if the reception says, "Yes, sir, I can give you that upgrade now." Now, why and how big data helps? Because it can do all the analytics and tell the reception that you are authorized to offer an upgrade to this particular individual based on analytics. So, better accuracy, shorter time, and greater number of people taking decision defines business agility. So, analytics and technologies are great, but it is the strategies that we are really focusing on. Now, okay, the way I'm going to skip through this. There isn't much here anyway, but this is the gory bit, This is where you can doze off, and if you close your eyes, I will not be offended. In fact, my MBA class, I teach it in the afternoon at 12 o'clock on Saturday. So I told my students, if you close your eyes, I will take it as a compliment, because that means your professor has put you in such comfortable situation that you close your eyes. So last lecture, at least 3 students were opening their eyes just out of courtesy. So I won't not talk about all this. I just want to share use cases, some of these what we call use cases these days, and I think you will find them interesting. Now this wonderful man crunched 200 billion price records of flights primarily in North America to tell me if I should buy a ticket tomorrow to fly from Tampa to New York. His analytics was able to tell me whether the price will go up or down and make recommendation. With 200 billion records, he was still around 75-80% confident, not 99%. So he said, if the price goes in the opposite direction to what I said, I'll pay the difference. Guess what? What a big deal. I will know tomorrow whether I should buy the ticket today, or I should wait for a day, or wait for a week. And if the recommendation is wrong, I'm going to get the margin. So the story is that Bill Gates purchased Faircast and shut it down. It's no longer available. It used to be available in Bing. It's no longer available now. One example of big data analytics. 115 million, of course, got paid to him. I can take 10% of that and sell my books. This is something that I believe Steve Jobs tried to do. He was saying that the cancer and my analytics are competing with each other. And let us see. Was that Steve Jobs? With full respect, by the way, I don't mean any disrespect. He's an IT person. May he rest in peace. So you can take a swab of your saliva and put $99 and post it to this particular company, and they will do the analytics of whatever billion spirals that are floating around in my body, and they can make certain, not predictions, but tendencies. Am I going to be susceptible to Alzheimer's or Parkinson's? That's what is there on their website, but I believe they can do a lot more than that. Not possible without the current technologies that not only take data but also analyze them. What is the relationship between the traffic in London and the economy? Well, if there is more traffic, that means there are more people going to work, it's theory, which means there are more economic activities happening, which means within a week or a month, the London Stock Exchange is going to go up. And they were able to do that analytics. That's right here. How many 100 million vehicles in that particular span of time? This is big data analytics. Anticipatory shipping is fascinating. Bhuvan Unhelkar buys Colgate. I shouldn't be advertising Colgate. I buy actually one of those nice Indian toothpaste. But okay, I buy Colgate. Every month I order 2, and it gets delivered the next day. Guess what? Through big data analytics, Amazon decides that in Siesta Key there is this guy called Bhuvan Unhelkar, and he's most likely to buy 2 toothpaste in the first week of the month. How about we pack it, keep it ready, and maybe even put it on a truck? Maybe it will do 3 rounds. And the 4th round, Bhuvan orders, and within half an hour, it's on his doorstep. Ooh, now I really like it. No waiting till tomorrow. It's there. That's anticipatory shipping. And Amazon is working on it. They are refining their algorithms, and together with drones, I mean, the toothpaste will probably be delivered in my bathroom. Now, I got a couple of, this particular one is a bit somber. And let me just take you straight to that, because I was in Canberra, Australia's capital, when 9/11 happened. And we are, at that time, we were, I think, 15 hours ahead of New York time. And all of us were affected, and all of us would be affected. There's no doubt about it. But Dr. James Rickards, whose book I have got here, if you are interested, while he's talking about wealth and money and debt of money and so on, the first chapter is called The Prophecy. And this chapter is all about his work in big data analytics. So bear with me, but 3 days before the events of 9/11 unfolded, the puts, if you understand options, and I'm sure most of us do, calls and puts, options trade. I used to work for Dow Jones from 92 to 98 approximately in Sydney, and I used to come to the World Trade Center and so on. The price of the puts for UAL, which is United Airlines, and American, was strong. And there was a movement happening around the price of these 2 options, only put options. And as perhaps all of us know, put is the right to sell a share at a particular price. So if I buy lots of puts, and I have some inkling that the price of these particular businesses is going to go down, I'm going to make millions. And then James Ricard has, analyzed the whole thing. He was